Hello, friends. So I had quite a day because I woke up at 3 a.m. to take another amazing harmony class with my teacher from the UK. And it was awesome, amazing. You know, in 1 hour, he gave me something I could practice for the next 6 months easily, or 12 months, and not run out of things to work on. So that was super cool. And I think, you know, and then kind of what happened from there was I was reconnecting with what it felt like to be in London. You know, it's kind of weird. It's like being back in class in London. And I came out of that, it's, 4:30 a.m. So I start doing my Qigong routine, which I learned from my teacher in London. And then I meditate, which I was deeply studying in London. And there was something about, it was like I had a really, like a wave of memory come back to me from that time, from really like what it felt like it's like I was burrowing back into the memories of the places that I lived and the activities I was into and just what my life was like back then. And there was a real, it just felt, I think partly because I was, semi-sleep deprived and very focused, very, very, very conscious. It wasn't like I woke up at 3 a.m. and was groggy. I had an hour and a half of scintillating harmony and music theory, and then some Qigong and some meditation. So I was awake, but it was like these impressions were just coming through me in a very powerful way. And part of what came back was the kind of emotional reality of where I was back then. And that was, in a lot of ways, as much as I can just gush, I could gush for hours about what I learned from my time there and the teachers I had and the opportunities and experiences I had. And, I feel like it set me up for life. I spent about 5.5 years there. I could spend the rest of my life unpacking just what I learned there, not even counting everything else I've learned since and the stuff that I continue to assimilate, and where that sort of core of the teaching that I received and also just the life learning that I did, how that has set me up for, just an incredible sense of wealth in terms of how I can approach the work that I do now and all of that. And there was a lot of emotional pain in that time. I was a very disoriented human, and I never really found my footing while I was there. I sort of feel like I left, not quite with my tail between my legs, but certainly, but almost. Certainly, I sort of left that phase with a sense of like just not being oriented towards, in a stable way, towards this is what my life is about. This is how, I was very disoriented in terms of my romantic relationships, in terms of my professional orientation, in terms of my spiritually. I think there was a lot of disorientation is the word that keeps coming to me. And so I felt that today too. I kind of went back to that and sat with that and just remembered it, felt it. And one of the very welcome insights that came through from receiving all that and from going back there was there's a way in which I think the reason, or if I could sort of diagnose my issues back then, I would say that I was in a massive, frantic, manic, sort of unconscious hurry to try to manifest everything I was learning and receiving all at once. To try and synthesize it, integrate it, spit it back out, and be successful at it immediately. I had no patience. And even more than that, it wasn't really so much about patience. It was that I had no reliable perspective for what kind of time frame might be involved in the type of assimilation, integration, germination, marination. What's the Asian words? That was necessary. What kind of time frame that might take. And so I was manic. So it was all, it was all bursts of fire and then getting doused with cold water. Quite literally, living in London, you get doused with cold water all the time. But also emotionally, there was this like, and I never hit my stride. I never felt like I'm in sync. And at this point in my life, I can very confidently say that many of those things feel much more integrated, much more rooted. I feel much more. I'm experiencing more success with in all those areas. I am not as frantic, and what came through today very powerfully was a feeling of, and it was like it pinged into my brain as one of those thoughts that like banner headline on my thinking was, I don't have to be in a hurry to do this. I don't have to be in a hurry. I was standing, I think it was while I was doing Qigong, and I was thinking, I don't have to be in a hurry to make all this stuff come together right now. And while that might seem obvious to many of you, it was, and it still is in some ways a revelation to me that all of my plans, all of my vision, all of my desire to use what I've been given and to create what I see as being possible, it doesn't all have to happen right now. I'm allowed to take steps. I'm allowed to have a vision and take one step towards it. And that one step is not a failure simply because it doesn't arrive yet. Again, it seems so obvious when I kind of say that out loud, but there's something emotionally significant about recognizing that and being and sort of genuinely taking that in, that I don't have to be in a hurry. I don't have to do it all today. And I think it was partly just being steeped again. It was like going back into that same environment. It was almost like was almost like regression therapy. You know, like I got to go back to 15 years, to being in class 15 years ago and like do the same thing and then come out of it and be like, oh, now I'm 15 years older, but I'm in the same emotional world that I was back then. And I have this reflective capacity upon the sensations that are coming up, because it really was bizarre. It really was kind of like, I mean, I was looking around my own house, the one I'm in now, going, I can't believe this is my house, because I was so kind of like back in my London life. Also had a really deep meditation, which kind of, took me psychically very deeply into that connection. So anyway, I think, the thing that was really powerful and that is really relevant to me today, if I think about, the work I'm doing on the cabaret and all the different projects that I've got, going, the different things that are inspiring me right now, how incredibly grateful I am for where I am. And, I say this every time, but a teacher like Madeline, it's just like, it's a dream. It's a dream come true, but it also, I do still have that inclination to want to make it happen now, I want my practice to render results now. I want my creative investment to bear fruit now, and that's, I mean, obviously there's a part of me that's capable of being objective and not being tied to that, not being, being able to take a step back from that. But there's also a part of me that is right there, that's still there. And I think that's why this sort of like time warp perspective therapy thing that happened today, this morning, what felt so profound, because it was like I was receiving the information into my heart that I'm not in a hurry. It was like this, I was able to see all the wealth, all of the incredible gifts, and not need them to all fit together and go in a box and be shipped off. And it was like I could take the patience and say, wait, what if I do just spend a year practicing this harmony stuff that Pete gave me this morning? What if I do? What if it does take me, 6 months or whatever time frame is reasonable? But what if I just let that be enough? What if I don't need to do it all right now? Yeah. Anyway, there's emotion here too, and there's a, this is a big thing to receive, and I may well process more of this on this post, but I will just say that it was so, I was so grateful for that experience, and then for the insight that came, and for that sense, like, what a relief to see that the possibility is not it's not so binding that the possibility becomes a form of it's like the possibilities become the prison. If they all have to happen now, then possibilities become a prison, because they impose themselves as opposed to presenting themselves. Anyway, thank you for watching. My God, this conversation and this work that I'm doing with all of you, it's really big. It's really big. I'm very grateful. I appreciate you. So much love. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you later.